Okay, so this video is to deal with the back legs, and it's always the case where you might want to go back and change. I think this is the edit of this particular sketch. So remember, we put a hole in the middle. So let's see if we can go back and change that. So if you hit escape and you click on the hole, then it extrudes that, and then we can just click OK. And so now not only did we fix the hole on the right leg, we fixed the hole on the left leg. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that we save at this point because we did a lot of work. You can sort of see that there was a lot of things created with the deleting of those edges, and that was probably just in my selection that I created that. So if we look around, we've got basically the front legs. They're pretty simple, and you can put those same ones on the back. If you're not having fun with this project, then just make it simple. So I'm going to create a sketch here, and it's going in the wrong orientation for my liking, so I can just click over here and I can rotate it to something that's more along my liking. So I've just searched on Google, and I came up with this sort of a leg design. Excuse me. So I don't know, it's just a little bit of a slope. It is getting thinner at the bottom. You can sort of see that maybe the front legs are a little bit more. So you can choose any design you want. There's some really elaborate ones if you want to use the revolve. Then there's these ones. I'm certainly not going to make you do that, but these ones maybe are a little bit angled back, maybe like a 5-degree angle. But I'm going to shoot for this design. So one of those. So it's going to be a little bit more like narrow, and it's hopefully going to be sloping back. And that's basically just so it doesn't tip over. Okay, so I've created a sketch. I still have all my structures on. I could, like, I know that that's 1.5 inches, so I could sort of draw that. So if I do just sort of normal, let's say, I want it to line up with the bottom of this. So I'm going to actually escape. I'm going to do a projection. So project, and I just want these two structures, and then I can click OK. So the reason you do that is just it's a little bit more interactive, so they kind of click on things. So I know that my down, like this is going to be 157. So if I lose it, I know that this is 38.1, and I know that this is 357, I believe. And to confirm that, you can just take a line off the bottom, because you want the chair leg to be on the floor. So in this case, I don't care actually of how long the line is. The only thing I care about is that angle, that it should be 90 degrees or 180 or 270 or 0, depending on which way you're drawing that line. So I'll hit click, and I'm just going to change that to a construction line. So that would be select a line and you hit X, or you hit this button over here, and that makes a... So from this point, we want to make a curve. So let's say that we want to bring that leg back 1 inch from there. So we could make a copy of this. Let's see if we can do this. Well, one way of doing it is create a rectangular pattern. So for that, we want to select the direction. So that would be this. We want to select the object. So now it selected the line that we just drew last, so we don't want that. We actually want these lines here. And if we just bring it back, what looks normal. So 2 times the leg would be, so it's about 40. Let's try 80 and see what that looks like. So let's say that the bottom should be 80. I don't know, there's many ways of doing this. The quantity, we only want it to be 2. I don't know if it'll do the 1, because the original is the 1, so you'd have to do at least 2. You could go a little bit further, because I don't even know if there's a gap in there. Well, we'll see what we got. Okay, so we basically wanted this line here, and then we could draw an arc. So I like this 3-point arc, so we could join it to there, and we just want a gentle curve. And at this point, we could do the same here. Okay, and then we're going to hit escape to get out of our tool, and then we're going to start deleting lines just because they're in the way. We still have this line here as a reference. Now, we have this measurement, so we don't need it. We could finish at this point. It's not terribly beautiful, but it does sort of emphasize that we've got a little bit of a curve here going backwards. If we looked at our chair again, I think that it was a little bit narrower. So we could draw a little bit of a line here. And we can make it slightly less. So the full distance, of course, is 38. So I don't know, let's try 5. And as long as this dimension's here, we can change that. So we're going to go back to our arc tool. This time we're going to click on that line, and we're going to keep the same top one, and then we're going to zoom in, and we're just going to create it almost the same. So the good thing with this is that you should be able to click on this 5 mil, and if we changed it to 10, you could keep going, and you can delete your original line. So you can just keep going with this measurement until you're happy with it. Now, if we wanted to do the same thing over here, we could just draw a line this way, and you could actually use the I don't know, I screwed up on that. So let's go to dimension, and so there is a line there, so it's hard to select which one. Let's just redraw it. So there's where our line was, and the easy way maybe is just to type in 10 and then drag it down. Now you can actually change this. If you double click on it and you click on this unit, then it's the same reference. So if you wanted to change that in reference to that, when you change one, it'll change both. So that's maybe what we want to do. And then we can do our arc tool. So we go to arc, we click on the top, we zoom in on the bottom, and we'll just sort of put in a really gentle curve here. So zoom in. So maybe that's it. We can hit escape. We can delete out of there. So now the cool part is, if I click on this and I type, I don't know, let's go 8 instead, it'll actually change both of them. So you have a very large ability. So that made it a little bit, it's certainly curved, excuse me, and we could make it smaller. So let's go 5. So that made it a little bit stronger. So we're going to keep it at that. You can fiddle around with that. If you want to, you can hit escape to get out of your move tools, and you can start, I don't know if it's dangerous to delete that line, but let's do it anyways. We'll delete that line. And we can clean this up by using, you can actually just make that a construction line if you want to. So The problem with making that a construction line is it might not extrude, so you could just redo that line so it's from this end to that end. And so anytime it turns blue like that, you know that it's going to be the full shape. So now it kind of came unhinged here, so you could redraw that. I don't know. That could just be a dimension too. So if you pull this out, that seems to be more natural. So we're going to click finish the sketch, and we're going to see if we can extrude that. So click here, click your shape, give it a direction, and we're going to go 38.1, which is the same thickness. Now here's something that's interesting, and we'll have to correct it. So it seemed to go the wrong direction. So we can do a right click on our extrude, edit feature, and I forgot to put the negative in. So that went the right direction now. We can click new component, new body. Well, it's only giving us new body, so we'll have to accept that. And then we want to take a look and see if that actually joined. So it did not join. So there is a possibility where you zoom in and you can change that. So if I click on the top of this shape and I go to extrude, I want to actually go to an object. So the object that I want to go to is the bottom of the chair. And I don't want it to join, but I do want it to go there. So if I hit escape to get out of my orbit and I click here, then it joins. I don't want it to join, I want it to be a new component. Ooh, I do want it to join. Let's try new body. Let's try join. So let's see what happened there. So it did fix the air gap problem. So if you'll notice that it is still there. It's got some sort of weird fillet, but for the sake of this project we don't care about that too much. And we'll see what happens when we turn this body off. So we turn that body off and there's no strange bit left over. So we can turn that, we can do a right click on here, we can create a component. We can confirm that that's the component, and we can do a triple click or a right click on there. So this is going to be back right leg. And of course we can do that same trick with the mirroring, right? So we've got our origins here. We can hit escape, we can do mirror. We can select our component, which it already has, and our mirror line is this one up here, and we can orbit around just to make sure it's the right one. And we can click escape and we can agree with it. And so then the last thing we have to do is change it to color. So right click. Sometimes you can't get that, so you got to tap the escape key a whole bunch of times, and we'll still keep it the same type of wood. Okay, so hopefully that looks good to you. It shows skills, right? So if you keep to the simple, right? So this is the simpler one where we just added a fillet, and you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that, especially if you're just starting out in Fusion. But to show that you actually have a little bit more skills to work with curves, you can demonstrate that with your furniture. Okay, so we're going to stop this video. That one's called doing the back legs.